Morning. I've been away for a little while. Be honest with you, been in a stuck mode. Kind of like trying to figure out what's going on and where am I at. Why am I feeling like we're running in circles with the business? Why am I feeling like life is kind of in shambles? Not shambles, but like not efficient. I should say that because there's a lot more people who got worse off. You got to make sure, be honest with yourself and truthful with yourself, and not lie to yourself and make it worse than what it is. As entrepreneurs, we got to make sure, because one big thing I have to tell myself is like, it's not the end of the world. You're not like dying, or you're not starving, or you're not like going through beyond poverty, or you're not like the worst of the worst things. And that's you got to be honest with yourself, because we get so caught up in like trudging along, we got our heads dug down, and when we have setbacks and upsets, it hits us, and it should. But you got to keep it in perspective, because you don't want to alienate other people. You don't want to talk to other people in the sense of like, hey, your life is actually pretty good, and you're sitting here like that. And so you got to make sure you keep it in perspective. You want to always drive. You want to always push. You want to always be the best version of yourself. But you got to keep it in perspective. So let me make sure I said my life isn't in shambles, but it's like I'm in a funk. I feel stuck. I feel like I'm not progressing at the rate I want to progress at. I feel like I'm not progressing at all. I feel like I'm just running around in circles. And like, I think that showed in every part of my life. Everything started regressing to me. I wasn't as, and I didn't see it until now. You kind of coming out of it, but I can feel like something was going wrong. But like, I wasn't being consistent with these videos. I wasn't being consistent with my workouts. I wasn't being consistent with scheduling. I wasn't being consistent. I'm like, what is going on? And I realized two things going on. And I kind of was touching on it before and all of that, but I wasn't doing self-reflection, and I wasn't doing like my conversations and to all who, conversations with God. First of all, let's go ahead and finish that. Conversations with God. And who all, religious or not, you have your rituals, you have your routines, you have your things you do. Stay intact with your your routines and your spirituality. That matters. That's one big thing. My conversations with God was not, consistent. My prayers were not consistent. And my self-reflection, like I haven't read a book in probably about a year now. And like, that's not good. So I'm starting back, going through the basics of what helped me get to this mentality, helped me get to this growth mentality, helped me get to where I'm getting to now. What also helps is what harmed me with that. So because I wasn't doing that, I believe one of the key contributors was I was trying to work and trying to teach others. And because I'm teaching others, that means that I'm at a space where my knowledge is a little beyond their knowledge, and so I felt comfortable. I got comfortable, and I stopped pushing. I feel like I wasn't in growth mode. I wasn't in growth mode, so thus my life didn't show growth mode. Thus my actions didn't show growth mode. Thus, yeah, I was still growing, but it was like growing, like, so I relate a lot of things to sports. Like, let's go with basketball. I think that's easy to relate to. As I'm growing in my basketball skills, I first learned to trip. We can do just simple things everybody does: walking, crawling, all that stuff. As you get older, you begin to crawl, then you begin to walk, then you begin to run. Well, once you get to learn how to run, you need to increase your speed, increase your stride, increase your steps, the quickness of your steps. Well, even though I was still growing, like you're still going somewhere, I'm walking. I was walking, so I'm still moving, but I'm not moving at the most efficient like level I could be, because I know how to run now. I know how to make myself run faster. but I'm walking. And so I can feel that I wasn't moving like I should move. I wasn't as efficient as I should be. And it was hurting me. So that's one big thing right there. Like, I had to learn, like, what's going on. So I took for granted, because I've been learning, I was crawling, then I learned to walk, then I learned to run, and I began to run consistently, and I took that for granted, and I didn't realize that I started back walking. Hopefully that makes sense to y'all. It makes sense to you, like saying, hey, like, sometimes because you started running and everybody else is walking around you, if you're not careful and keep seeking people who are running and keep looking for people who are running faster than you, you will begin to regress back to walking. And it's not that the people walking aren't growing, but like, they're growing because they're coming from crawling and going to walking and begin to walk faster and starting to run. And like, you can't, yes, you come back to teach people, yes, you come back to help people, but you can't stop your growth either. You can't slow down your growth on a consistent basis. Sometimes you got to stop, reach back, and help people, but you got to get back to your growth. And one thing is, you got to understand what helped you grow in the get-go. And what helped me grow was that I never had a true mentor. But the books, my routine, like my books, my routine, and the videos I watch, what I put in my brain, what I use on my daily basis for entertainment, all that stuff circled around growth. And I became very comfortable because I got to a level where I'm like, okay, my family's being taken care of. You know, I'm not the happiest, but I'm not the saddest either. So, yeah. So be careful with those plateaus. And if you feel yourself plateauing, make sure you understand, all right, I'm plateauing, like what I need to do. I need to get back to the basics. One big thing I'm doing now is get back to the basics. Next 3 months, I'm gonna revisit all the books that are my go-to books for the year. And yeah. So I'm gonna start back with 1 Minute Manager. Hold on, pass somebody. Start back with 1 Minute Manager. I'm gonna go through a couple of those books. I recommend those books to anyone. I'm gonna go back over Lead for God's Sake, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and 13 Fatal Flaws of Managers. Those are the books I'm gonna go over. So 1 Minute Manager. Then you got 1 Minute Manager builds teams. 1 Minute Manager of self-leadership. Self-leadership. Rich Dad Poor Dad, Lead for God's Sake, and 13 Fatal Flaws. So yeah, so that's my thing. And start getting back into that mental space. Also working out in the morning and having that more so meditation prayer time with this. And all this came from my wife insisting on me look at this podcast, listen to this podcast she listened to, and it sparked everything. It brought everything back. Like, yo, your mental health matters. Your mental stability matters. And like, if you don't fight for growth mentality, you don't fight for growth routines in your mind, then the world is gonna suck you back into that like rat race kind of mentality. So that's what I gotta say today. Hey, if you're feeling stuck, start with the basics. Read the books that got you to where you at. Revisit what you used to do and build from there. And if you're stuck and you have never started, then you need to understand one big thing I got from that podcast. Is one thing I used to do is start listening to the lies you're telling yourself. And every morning, start breaking down those lies and getting away from those lies. So, yeah. List the lies. That's even if you're in growth mode. List lies that's stopping you. List any lies that's bothering you or holding you back. Like, hey, what's going on? Why do I not want to get to this point? You know, does success mean evilness to you, or rich means evil to you, or does success means hurting people? Like, what is wrong? What's holding you back? So that's all I have to say on that. And we'll dive more into it, because I'm gonna start listening to that podcast over and over and over to kind of to really soak in what she's saying. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Hey, this is more of a announcement of what's going on with me. Just being honest about and being truthful and being transparent about what goes on in the entrepreneurial world. As you grow, like, walking was good 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but walking's not good now. I need to continue to run. But yeah, I know it's a longer video, but this is just me confessing and being honest about what's going on in my life. We gotta continue to grow. We gotta continue to push. We gotta continue to keep going. And you're gonna have these slow moments where you trudge it along, and you have small growth. When you understand what's going on, then you start getting back to running. You start getting back to leaps and bounds, and that's where it's at. Always self-diagnosing, always self-analyzing. What do you need to do to get back to where get back to that push? And then as you grow and continue to do that, those times between those slump times will be shorter and shorter and shorter. But you got to go through those slump times to kind of understand those times. So it's it's a good and bad thing. Now you start to see why you slump. You start to see what signs that show you that you're slumped. And yeah, so I've been through like a month and a half. I would say, looking back at it, a month and a half. Now it's time to get back right and keep pushing, keep growing, resetting my mind, resetting my growth trajectory, and getting back at it and finishing this year strong. So it's the end of April, so we're going into the 5th month, and we gotta get the business back, not back up and running, but it's running, but get the business humming along. All right, what I need to do to get it humming along. So, as always, love others, and most importantly, love yourself. Peace.